Hey guys, Mike back here with you again. Today we are actually trying to install some front fenders on the Workmaster 120 here. And just to kind of go through some of these things here, I was actually trying to YouTube things myself to actually see if there was a video on this already on doing this install, and I can't find anything on it. So actually, after I started to unbox this stuff, I kind of realized that it seems like the ongoing effort here, the bolts and nuts, all the stuff you get in some of these packages, it's a complete kit. It's a complete fender kit for a, I believe this fits the Powerstar, the Workmaster, and I believe this fits the series from 100 horsepower up. And it is the independent fender, so it moves with the wheel. But as we go ahead and actually unbox this, it comes into this crate. We've got both our fenders here yet. And then, as you guys can see, we've got a bunch of bags of different nuts and bolts, washers, our mounting brackets, and all of that kind of comes with it. As we get into our details here for assembly, right away, kind of figure out a couple little things. You get back here into the list of what's here. Kind of gives the quantity of things, if you guys can see that. Gives the item number over here on the side, and then it kind of tells you what it is. Again, though, we're kind of getting into this transition of time where usually there would be like a 1 or 2, 3, whatever the item number is associated with it, would be labeled on the packs and things like that. And that is not the case here at all. As a matter of fact, when we get down in here to 6 and 7, which I'll show you a detail of, it ends up being 2 different types of bolts that go on this one area. And just judging by the quantity of what's supposed to be in there of 10, leads me to this one pack that's here, that we're going to end up using 2 of the bolts out of here to install one of the pieces on the unit, and then the other ones will get used for the fender mounting itself. And then in that same area, you're going to be using a totally different bolt for that as well. So again, it's not labeled very well when it comes down to that. So and actually where that is in this install here, starts on number 3, and it starts in here to where you guys see this number 6 and this number 7, and the diagram of it is kind of showing you exactly what we're doing here. So a couple things real quick that we noticed, and we'll just take a look here at the tractor. So here's our front end here. You guys notice that here on this assembly, we've got the bolt that's in right here, and then the 3 bolts with the grease fitting on top here. So that part right there is not exactly clear in exactly what you're doing here, but we figured this out as we kind of walk through this. So I'm just going to show you, instead of telling you, hey, take the 3 bolts out of the top piece that's there, with it having a grease zerd in it and everything else, we're kind of wondering, okay, if I take that off, how do I grease it? All right, so we done figured that out. On the bracket itself that you're going to be mounting, you guys can see in there that little tiny hole, and then we actually are going to put a grease fitting here. So that is going to end up taking the place. It's going to sit just like that. And it's going to sit right there and bolt down. We've got another bracket that's actually going to, we're taking this out and going to go ahead and bolt another bracket here for this. So we're going to go ahead and get started with this. We've got everything pretty much unboxed for the most part. Cleaned up the area that we're going to be working with. I've got to get some extra tools out here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so first off here, we have to install the fender bracket here, one pointing down here. And then what I'm looking at is it doesn't really tell you exactly what, but what I'm comparing this to is that this is a front picture of the tractor, and it is showing the steering arm in the rear, so it's telling me that this is, to me, that drawing is correct. So if I'm actually looking at this one, it's looking from behind it to the front. If that makes sense. You guys see how it's going out and showing the direction of the actual mounting hardware. So what I'm looking at is this piece right here. So basically, if you're looking at it from the back to the front of the machine, this bracket right here we're going to need to install. I'm going to go ahead, I think I'm on the right path. There's actually a bolt that goes through here. I'm going to take the whole thing out first. I'm thinking one of two things. Either one, it's just this piece that actually threads down into here. But we're going to go ahead and see what mistake we make out of this, because it's not very clear as to what is what on that. Okay, actually that was just a nut. That's actually a shaft, a threaded shaft piece that's staying on there. So I'm going to take a look back at our directions, but this may just get bolted right back on. Let me go double check that first. All right, so after just going through the directions here, it's not very clear there. It does say bolt and it says 2, but there's no package there of just 2 bolts there. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and use the nut that it came with to go ahead and tighten that back down. Again, let me see. I'll show you exactly what I found here up close. You guys see that that's just a threaded piece, and then there's an Allen key as to maybe you could take that out, but I'm not going to do that, to tell you the truth. I'm just looking. I'm gonna pull the other one too, just to see if it fits in there a little better. Nah. Either way you put it, it's the right on the right side, so, and it's got to stick up. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll set that here for now. So we're going to take this, put him right there, which I don't quite like. It's not very flush. Alright guys, so this actually did go the opposite way. I had this on wrong, and that's exactly what I was looking at. So if you do put this like that, it fits right in its place, and then the nut can go right back on it. Looks like we're doing that good to go. This nut was super tight also. There's that piece. Next thing we're going to do is remove this, take this right off. Not strong enough. Oh man, these suckers are on here tight. Whew, boy. Okay, there's those three. Just gonna pull this up carefully. Alright, I'm gonna have to go get something else for that to take it off. It's kind of stuck. Alright, so as I'm pulling this up, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's shifting my whole wheel. Alright, so again, I'm not a mechanic here. Thought this was just going to be really simple. This piece here, we're definitely not going to be able to take that all the way off, even though it's got a grease cert on it. But there is that fits in there a special way, and I don't have it all the way out, but I know that we cannot take that off because the piece that we're putting on does not do anything with that. So I'm going to try to look through these diagrams here, and again, it's just really poor. I kind of wonder, I see this part of this diagram here, and it almost looks like you need to like it's still on. So I'm gonna make a phone call here real quick to my dealer. I'm gonna double check what I may or may not have done here with this real quick, and if I can just put this back in, or do we make a bigger mistake than I'd like to care to admit to. But either way, I'm not sure with that grease inserting in there, as far as like if you just put that on top, do I have to take the whole fender off to grease the top of this all the time? I'm not sure of, and I've read through this and it's not very clear. So I'm gonna make a phone call real quick, guys, and then I'm gonna come back to you. We're gonna see what we need to do with this. All right, so I made a phone call here. It looks like this is the cover. The grease cert goes in, it holds the bearing, it goes into the wheel. So we shouldn't have done any type of damage or anything like that. Again, it's not all the way out. We're gonna go ahead and use our factory bolts again to go ahead and snug that back. And try to pull that back together. I've actually put a lift under here just to kind of ease a little weight off of it, so to make it a little easier. I'm going to do that real quick, and then what we actually come to talk about, I'm going to end up trying to get this grease fitting out of here, and then we believe that the other piece that we're going to put in is just going to force grease into the top, and then go from there. So that's the game plan. All right, guys, so we just took the grease fitting out of it, and that's what we're going to do. Looks like that's going to work pretty good. Just going to go ahead and make sure that's all cleaned off. Probably get a rag and even just wipe it a little extra. Looks like we should be able to force grease down into it, which should work out pretty good. Okay. All right, so with this, guys, you're going to end up using 2 different lengths of bolts in here. So we're going to use the longer ones, which there was actually, it said there was 4 to a pack. There's actually 5 of them, but they are definitely the right ones. So we got the 2 longer that are going to go in the back side here because there's more of a lip, and then a little bit shorter one is going to go into the front. Doesn't call for any washers with this. We're just bolting her straight down. I guess they went ahead and cleaned up the whole, that whole surface area there where grease is going to end up filling up on. Alrighty. Now we're going to go ahead and put our grease zert in real quick. Probably could have just put that on in hindsight before we installed this thing. Would have been easier to get to. Actually, because I didn't put it on first, I'm going to have to go grab a 7/16 wrench and finish that up. Alright, so note to self on the other one, go ahead and put the grease zert in before you put the mounting bracket for this thing on, because this is a tighter area. Which, now thinking about it, it's going to be a pain in the ass to go ahead and get greased up too. Matter of fact, before I go any much further, I am going to check to see if my gun will actually fit this. May have to turn the wheel a certain way. I might try that. Or I'm going to put 45 degrees grease zerts in it. Alright guys, so look, if you see where that grease zert is and you see where the knuckle is on that steering coming through, it's actually a very tight area to go ahead and actually get our grease gun into. I have a couple of these 45 degree grease zerts. I'm actually going to go ahead and take that factory one back out, and I'm going to put this one back in its place, because I just see that this is going to be a lot easier to go ahead and grease that. I've also double checked to make sure that's the right way that this thing goes, and it is. Matter of fact, we go back over here and it's very hard to see, but you guys see the grease zert there, and it's back towards the steering, so everything's on properly there. But I am going to go ahead and switch that out. I have to install this guy here, which I'm not going to tighten up all the way yet. Just going to snug it for now. Alright, so now we're going to put this piece on here. I'm going to get it set into place here. There's going to be 4 bolts to go into this. Alright, so this is actually going to require the spacers in this as well. It's going to be 4 bolts, 4 washers, the spacers. Should be good to go. Alright. So it's going to be the 2 outer side. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and tighten these up. From what I can see, basically looking at the contour of this right here, following the front of the tractor itself, is how we line the plate up. I do see there's extra holes here. We'll check on that, but looks good so far. Just going to tighten them up. All right, we had a battery change there, guys. So in between there, went ahead, got everything tightened up here, got this whole bracket mounted. We've got our 2 bolts that went in for our arm here, and this is adjustable also. 5 holes down, the 4 holes are across. And then, so this guy here, actually wanted to show you this. Once we got this all said and done, we were able to go ahead and make this adjustment. So this is adjusting. There's a spring in here, and it's adjusting, so when this wheel turns in, it stops this at a certain point. So we've got everything on, bolted up underneath, and I'm going to go ahead and I will fire up the tractor. Also, if you guys can see, you guys see the grease right here? So we went ahead, that's the other thing, I went ahead and ran some grease through that to go ahead and make sure that it was actually going to go through the chamber and grease into that, and it was perfect. So it actually didn't come out anywhere else, so that was good to go. Everything's really, really tight. Everything's good to go on this side. Let me fire it up, and I'm going to show you how that works. And since I didn't quite get to video everything before it died, I'm going to get to a certain point and go ahead and edit that back in here for you guys so you can see the rest of it. All right, now that we got that tightened down, I'm going to go ahead, I'm putting that stopper adjustment back in. I want you to thread a nut, and it actually calls for the head end to be back towards so that it hits right here. We were about halfway with the other one, so I'm going to get it close to halfway, and then we'll make the adjustment from there. All right, so far, again, that what I was putting in was this bolt right here. This makes the adjustment. It's going to hit back here on this. There's a spring in here, which is going to allow, it's allowing the fender to turn with the wheel, which is the idea, because we're trying to keep all the mud out of the engine bay and stuff, all up on our fuel cell and everything there. So we get that, we get it adjusted just right. It'll turn right with the wheel enough to go ahead and prevent that. So as it stands right now, the 4 bolts that are down here are done. The grease cert's out of the mounting bracket. The bracket, of course, is on, bolted down tight. Now we're just going to go ahead and get our lever that comes up here. That piece of angle arm is going to hold the actual fender itself. All right, so now, guys, we're going to put the bracket that's going to hold the fender itself on. Notice there's 5 holes on one side and 4 holes on the other side. So the 5 holes are going to go down into your bracket. The 4 holes are going to go over top of your wheel. We put them in just like this. And I'm going to use the 2 top holes. I'm going to use the lock nuts and the longer bolts for this one. So let me go ahead and get those tightened up for you guys. tight. And then your shorter bolts are going to be used for the top when we actually mount our fender on top of that. Alright, so the fender, you guys notice, has a, let me get this up to you on the camera here. You guys see where the two bolt holes are up at the top. So the shorter end of the fender is going to go up top. The longer end is going to go towards the bottom. Again, I'm spacing mine out. My wheels are set out. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started. This was a lot easier with a second person, I will tell you. I'm going to make it work. All right, so we got her on there now. All right, so that's everything on, and like I say, it goes down the back side more. I'm gonna have to peel all the plastic off of this yet, and then kind of cut it around those. So let me get all that stuff off of there. All right, guys, so we've got the fender on. Went ahead, all the plastic's off the top, everything's here. Two things we're going to do. One, I'm going to spin that greaser on the other side where I put that 45, and then we're going to do that adjustment there. Let me grab this wrench here. Like I say, I ended up putting them 45 on the actual greaser piece itself, because it's definitely going to be a lot easier to go ahead and grease that thing when it is outside of where this bracket here is. So of course you could use a 90 on your gun there, but mine's just a straight. Good to go. I'm also going to go ahead and throw some grease in it and get that thing all filled up, and then we'll go ahead and adjust it. Alright, so again, guys, we're going to make that adjustment here while this tractor is running. We're going to make that adjustment so that when that wheel turns here, we want it to stop on our bumper back here. So you're going to do that by adjusting that bolt. Clearance all the way around it. Now I will tell you, the passenger side, there was a lot more. We're about half a bolt through to get the adjustment on that side, so it is a little bit different than what we were over here. But either way, guys, thanks for watching. I know I went through YouTube and I didn't find anything on installing fenders on these tractors. Again, from what I understand, this setup here is good for I think the 100 horsepower up to 120, so that 100, 105, all the way up. So, and also from the Workmaster to the Powerstar, same assembly as far as I know on that goes. So I'm going to leave you guys with what was left. We've got one of the longer bolts, 2 washers, a lock nut. We ended up with 5 regular nuts, and then these are our bolts that we pulled out of the other thing, and then of course our grease zerks that we pulled out, and also because we chose to go with the other grease zerks, we've still got the new ones that came with it. So hey guys, thanks for watching, and if you can, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you around again.